to begin.
Hey, what is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Social Primate Podcast. Today, my guest is Andy Anatomical. He is the host of Profile Pod TV and 90s Galore. And before we jump into the conversation, I do want to make sure that you're aware that there is certain topics in this conversation that some of you may find triggering. So I highly recommend to put pause on the audio, go check out some different episode if you want to listen to a different podcast, or maybe if you want to just take it easy and listen to some music. But yeah, I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that it's not easy nowadays to kind of just bring conversations up without having somebody come tell you like, hey, you're not supposed to say that. So I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. I also believe this might be the last episode of the year, but if it's not, I'll let you guys know. Before we get into Music Spotlight, last thing, I do want to give a few shout outs to some people here. This particular episode was both on IG Live and on Zoom, so we had the opportunity to kind of have people chatting it up. And I love doing this because people get engaged and you see how different people think, and you have more perspectives that you can kind of nitpick and see where the conversation leads. So it was great overall. And I do want to give a thank to Carnalismo Clothing, to Mega Man, to the Kickback Podcast, some Instagram users, Sync Chemist, Penelope Boutique, Lauren, and Fabian. And overall, I want to give you guys a big thank you to those people who were on the chat, to those people who have been supporting the show over the last year. I want to give you a big thank you, and a big high five and a virtual hug. And if that's not your thing, well, elbows. We'll do elbows. But last but not least, today's music is brought to you by Earth Rebel with his song Can't You See. You can find him on Spotify, you can find him on YouTube, SoundCloud, and heck, if you even go to Instagram and follow him right now, there's a link that gives you even more options for you to find his music. So go check it out, go show some support. And if that's not enough for you, go show support to all the local artists that you know. Because again, 2020 has been hard on everybody. And for those creatives, it's been a fucking ride. So go support them, go show them some love, go show them a like, go comment, go tag them. Whatever it is, you may not know it, but whatever it is that you do, whatever engagement you have with those artists or bands or whatever it is that you like, it's good for them. It's a means of supporting somebody without having to spend money, at least your money. But yeah, I hope everything works out for you guys. I hope you guys continue to be healthy, and we'll see what 2021 has in store for us.
Leave me when it's over, can't catch me when I'm sober. Living in a fast lane, the world is on my shoulders, yeah. Leave me when it's over, can't catch me when I'm sober. Living in a fast lane, the world is on my shoulders, yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Social Primate Podcast. Thank you for tuning back in. Today, my guest is Andy Anatomical, and he is the host of Profile Pod TV and 90s Galore. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? How you doing, man? I appreciate you having me here. I'm excited, man. I was, this is my only third time I've been on somebody else's podcast, so I'm kind of a rookie to this side of the microphone, bro. But yeah, man, thanks again for having me, man. It's a pleasure being here, bro.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Yeah, I can totally understand what you're saying and with that, because I've been on guest on maybe like 5, maybe 6 different occasions, and it's always weird getting the questions asked, like having them me. It puts me in a really weird, I don't know. It's just a little uncomfortable because I'm not used to being the spotlight in terms of the conversation.
It's a different dynamic, right? It's a different dynamic, man. It's being the one asking the questions, kind of leading the conversation. But now when you're on this side, you're kind of like, at least I am, maybe a little anxious because you're not fully in control of the situation. But no, man, it's all good. I got to start doing more of these, man. And again, man, thanks for having me on here. So.
For sure, and practice makes perfect. There's times where Mega Man, shout out to Mega Man. Every now and then he has me on his show, and nowadays it's more comfortable. Like the conversations, it flows a little bit more because we kind of know each other. We kind of we can bounce energies off of each other, so it kind of makes it for a smoother transition in terms of topics. But ultimately, that's what you kind of want to have with every guest that you have on the podcast.
Oh yeah, bro, no doubt. It's it's like anything though, right, Eddie? The more you do something, in that 10,000 hour thing, it's like anything in life, man. You practice, you do it more repeatedly, consistently. It's gonna become second nature, bro. You always hear that term, muscle memory and stuff like that. So yeah, man.
That's true. It works with everything. Like you said, physical, emotional. If you're going to learn something, obviously you have to build a habit for it first. And if we apply ourselves for this amount of time, that becomes a new habit that we can form or break, whichever we decide.
Exactly, man. But
started real quick. Give us background about your show, man. I mean, I know you have you had two shows, or you have two podcasts kind of that you kind of work with, right?
Yeah. So the first thing, Eddie, is 90s Galore. I started with 90s Galore. I started podcasting, man, on my phone. Literally on my phone with Anchor. And on January 21st, 2019, that was my very first podcast episode that I did. Mm-hmm. And basically with the 90s Galore, what that was is we focused on the world of entertainment in the decade of the 90s. And movies, books, mainly musicians, mm-hmm. and whatever the television shows. And so that's how that kind of started. And so fast forward, the whole year, all of 2019 was 90s Galore and doing episodes. Literally, man, I started doing episodes with just writing the entire script out, man. Like 30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes worth of monologue. And just reading it, but trying to sound natural as possible,
Yeah, so you don't sound like a robot.
Yeah, exactly. So little by little, I started getting more comfortable, started bringing on guests. Mm. And like, for example, I brought my brother Oscar on for the first time. I had my very first guest on an episode, and that was, we profiled the group, or Morrissey and the Smiths, and which obviously they're 80s, but I created this little thing called a wild card episode where we profiled anything, any decade, any genre, and then and then fast forward to this year, the beginning of this year, mm-hmm. 90s Galore rolled over, and then right around February, March, man, right before the pandemic hit, I started thinking, man, I started getting more creative, and I started thinking, man, I want to do something else. I want to do something more. I want to connect more with people because, we're with the 90s Galore. We were talking about other musicians and other people, which is cool, which is fun. But I wanted to connect more directly with the guests, and I started thinking, so that's when I kind of I thought of Profile Pod TV, and where I was going to bring on guests who, to profile them, to showcase them, shine the light on them, whatever they may be doing, a musician or a filmmaker, any walk of life, in any walk of life. So that's when the Profile Pod TV came into effect. But right around April, I did my first episode on YouTube. We live stream on YouTube. Yeah. So ever since then, man, I haven't done 90s Galore episodes since. But so I've done like almost 40 episodes. And I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I mean, you're still pushing, different concept, but kind of the same medium.
Right. Sorry about that. I thought you were signaling something. I misunderstood you. But yeah, man, that's kind of where I'm at now. And then, so I still have the 90s Galore page up, the Instagram mm-hmm. page. And it's definitely taking a back seat, man. This Profile Pod TV podcast is now at the forefront. It's I kind of found my niche, man. I kind of found like what I want to do, and then every day the vision becomes more clear as to what I want to do with the podcast and which direction I want to take it and all that. But yeah, man, that's kind of what 90s Galore is, and then the difference between the two and how it came about and how Profile Pod TV came about, and here we are, man. So going into next year, yeah, I'm definitely going to focus on Profile Pod TV. So that's where we're at, man.
I mean, so far so good though, right? I mean, it feels like you're pushing the content, and you're making these conversations happen. And I think what's important is, like, as a podcaster, at least for me, I walk out of each conversation with a little new piece of like information or a little nugget that I could kind of apply to my own self, either whether it's my personal life or what I'm doing with conversations with people, it kind of helps build on that.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, Eddie. I think with every episode that I've done, man, yeah, you hit it right on the head, because you take something different from each person that you talk to, right? And that's in life too, man. I've always had the mindset of, everyone you come in contact with in any way, shape, or form in life. If you're someone at the grocery store, someone that you work with, a family member, any human being you interact with in any way, you take something from that person. You want to take something positive. You want to learn something, even if it's a tiny interaction. It's just, hey, how you doing? You study body language. You read that person's, how they're dressed. You just notice things. Just take something away from them, absorb. So with the podcasting specifically, man, yeah, you with every conversation, you definitely take something from that person. You learn something about yourself. You learn something about your podcasting, your skills, your how you do your podcast. You learn something about that other person. So there's all kinds of different dynamics going on, man. And that's the beautiful thing about it, man.
Do you ever at some point, because you're doing these conversations, and again, like at least for me, I feel like I absorb all these little nuggets and stuff. So like at the end of the day, I feel like I'm not at a higher level. I don't want to say that necessarily, but I can sometimes feel like the ego is like saying, "Oh, you're doing real good," and it kind of gives you that false sense of I don't know what to say it exactly, but you just feel like a little prideful, like, oh, I know better than most people, and it's easy to fall into that, especially because at some point you're going to be, we are the spotlight of the show, we are the people the individuals who make those shows happen. So,
right.
It can always get to our heads as well.
Yeah, no doubt, man. But I think we have to keep sight of what the goal is. I think in any walk of life, bro, whatever industry you're working in, you have to refine yourself. You have to constantly, in the corporate world, they call professional development, right?
Yeah.
You have to constantly sharpen your skills, learn, and do what you have to do to get better. Because there's this word in Japanese called it's kaizen. I don't know if you're familiar with that term. It means continuous improvement. So there is no such a thing as best. I think you have to be only better.
It's funny that you bring that up, because like right now, so I'm talking about my own personal experience, so I'm in a specific age group, and I see people younger than me doing podcasts. So it's easy for me to be like, damn, those guys are like, I don't know. There's just like this low key subconscious competition that you feel that there is, that just because they're younger than you, they're going to do better. And then that kind of gives you this resentment where you're like, well, fuck that show, or not the podcasting necessarily, but in everything. Like let's say you're a professional athlete, you see the newcomers coming in, and you're fading away. At some point you're gonna have to throw in the towel and say, hey, like, I'm past my prime. And
mm-hmm.
Again, like there's that ageism thing that kind of runs amok in a bunch of different parts in our society.
The flip side to that, I think, Eddie. I know I'm 44 years old, bro. So, I know I'm probably old. I'm older than you, right? The flip side to that, there's people older than I am, probably in their 60s, doing podcasts, So, when there's a huge age range of people doing podcasts, So I think, but are you in your 20s, Eddie?
I turned 30 this April.
Oh, you're going to be 30? You're going to be 30?
I turned 30 in April, yeah, this year.
Oh, you already did. Okay. Yeah, man. I think, you have a different perspective because you're at a certain age. For myself, speaking for myself, my perspective is, I think I don't feel like I'm ever competing with another podcaster. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why, because I think the pie, there's enough to go around, man. And, everybody's on their own path. Everybody has their own dynamics, their own skill set, their own, we're all on a different, just a different trail, we're blazing our own trail. So, you bring up an interesting point, bro, because you can go in a lot of directions with that particular topic that you said, because you could, and then we could say, okay, well, are we competing? Are we comparing ourselves to other people? Mm-hmm. So I think at the end of the day for me, bro, I think I'm having fun doing this. I would love to make a living doing this. I'm going to, I can't worry about things that I have no control over, Right. I can only control what I can control and worry about myself. I wish the best on everyone, man. I hope everybody has a successful podcast. I hope everybody makes it big, or whatever that means to that person, whatever they want to accomplish with their podcast. I hope they accomplish that particular thing. If that means, the next Joe Rogan, more power to you, bro, but for myself, I definitely want to make a living doing this. I know, like I said, man, I wish nothing but the best for every podcaster, man. But yeah, man, there's some young people doing this, and most people are younger than I am, doing this. And but I never get that, like I said, I want everyone to be successful, man. And I used to be like that myself, Eddie, growing up, man, maybe in my early 30s, where I would compare myself to others. And in other ways, I was like, okay, how come he has a house and I don't? What am I doing wrong?
Right.
That person that drives that car, how come I'm driving this? And that I realize now, man, that used to just kill my what's the word, man? My mindset, that was negative self-talk, toxic, bro. So when I realized, as I got a little older. Yeah, you can't, like John Wooden, the famous UCLA coach, man, basketball coach. He said, don't worry about things you have no control over. So
yeah. This is a good point that you brought up. There's I don't want to say it's a quote, but I just remember it from hearing it from somewhere that says, instead of asking yourself why me, like start, change the conversation, change the question, and rephrase it, and start saying like, what can I do with the situation I have? And then using that to kind of like, again, just resetting that mindset and approaching it differently than just kind of saying like, just making yourself the victim, And I know it's easy for people to put yourself in that position and victimize yourself. And maybe you do have the right to put yourself in that position. But at the end of the day, again, it's that mindset that's going to keep you in that shell, until you decide that you got to change the way you're asking yourself these things.
No doubt, Eddie. I think, Eddie, man, at this point in time in my life, man, I've realized one thing, man. The key to our entire life lies right here, man.
Yeah.
Between our ears, and what we feed this thing, what we tell this thing, it manifests, bro. It manifests. We are what we put in our minds, we are what we put in our minds. And if that's negativity, if that's toxicity, if that's crap,
yeah.
Guess what our lives are going to look like on the external, Mm-hmm. But if we're constantly feeding our minds positivity, through meditation, through, self-talk, positive self-talk, mm-hmm. That's huge, bro. Affirmations. Every morning when I wake up, man, and literally I have my affirmations written down on a piece of paper, and it sounds corny. It may sound corny, may sound cheesy, bro, but I do it, man. And let me tell you, man, that's been, and I pray, I meditate, I do a little bit of yoga. I have my little morning routine, bro. Mm-hmm. I want to start my day at a high frequency. I want to start my day at a high positive frequency, because that's to set the tone right there, man. The mornings are so powerful. So right there, I do my morning routine, mm-hmm. I set my mind frame in a positive state. It's powerful, man. It's a powerful thing.
It's funny too that was brought up, because I don't do like the exact same routine, but like if I'm going to work, I'll tell myself, okay, today I'm gonna have a good day. I'm gonna keep collected. All this stuff that is gonna help me approach my day and kind of react to things a little more consciously. And the other day, last week, I did the same thing and like I normally do, and this fucking customer tested me like so bad. And it's like, holy shit, like sometimes it's really hard to just take that deep breath and just say, oh, okay, let this go. But, they definitely tested that whole thing. And it was... anytime you're working with the general public, bro, whether it's through
clientele, whatever, man, customers. It's yeah, it can be challenging for sure, man.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Quick thing here. I have a Carnalismo Clothing with a question. It says, what do you guys expect to get out of the podcast in the long term?
Oh, yeah. I was touching on it earlier, man. My goal is to be able to make a living podcasting. And for me, Eddie, I've always enjoyed the performing arts. I've always enjoyed the behind the scenes of how any production, whether it's a movie, a song, a television show, how something is produced, music. I was fascinated with that from a young age. And I've always wanted to be, an actor or somewhere in the realm of entertainment. Mm-hmm. And I've done my share of acting. I was on Mad TV in the mid 2000s, 2005. You can look on YouTube. It's called Mad TV Steroids on YouTube. It's a little skit I did. I was Jose Canseco lookalike. But point being is that, I felt like right at this point in my life that I left. I didn't want to continue without giving it a shot. That's which is why I got into podcasting. To get back into this realm. So my goal is to hopefully make a living with this podcast and then parlay it, into other avenues within the entertainment world, right? So whether that through merchandise, through advertisements, sponsorships, different mediums, getting into who knows, maybe back into acting and films, and so that's why I'm just scratching the surface right now, man, with my podcast.
That's good, and it's a perfect segue to get into that kind of stuff again. Because again, you're putting yourself in a spotlight where at some point or another you will be recognized for what you're doing, and that just gives you more opportunities.
Exactly.
We got to keep doing. We got to keep kind of pushing it, and I think again, for the most part, the fact that it started in this year, that you started kind of push your profile Pod TV like in the middle of a pandemic, it couldn't have been, I think, a better time to start some kind of a creative project to kind of jump on. Even if you didn't, it's cool, but the fact that you had the time was available for you to kind of do something, that works. That as long as you take advantage of it, it works always in our favor.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's a great point, Eddie, because I had more time on my hands now, right? So shame on me if I wasn't going to take advantage of that and use it in productively. So more like most of us now, we're working from home and all this and that, right, with the pandemic. But it was a perfect time to do. And a lot of people, man, have gone into online businesses, social media, podcasting. It's just the whole new these new industries are really popping up. Yeah, especially podcasting, right? But I think it was a great time to get into to start something new and fresh, and because I think once we're through this, man, we get through this pandemic. What's the world gonna look like on the other side? With creators, with creators, I think a lot of people have achieved a lot of success during this time already. So just imagine once we get, back to normal, I think, you're going to see a lot of people, a lot of success stories coming out of this, man.
Hopefully that's the silver lining for a lot of us, again, we'll see what happens as the time goes, but talking about the year 2020, delving into some of the topics now as we move forward. I wanted to ask you, I asked you earlier, like a few weeks ago or a week ago, I think one of the Iranian army generals or something like that, he supposedly said that there was, or that there's been reports and that they've made contact with aliens. The U.S. government supposedly has made contact with them, and that they have like this agreement that, apparently at some point, once humanity is ready to meet the aliens, then they shall present themselves to us. What do you think about that? I thought that was fucking crazy, first of all. No, they were there. At least I kind of always believe something happened. Some sort of existence was out there.
Eddie, this particular topic really creeps me out, and I'd rather not talk. No, I'm kidding, man. I think, oh man, this is a interesting topic, man. I used to be heavily into conspiracy and stuff like this, right? The Illuminati and aliens and all that, all that stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with the book Behold the Pale Horse.
No, I'm not.
By William Cooper. He touched on a lot of different stuff, right? It was just a book of conspiracy. How about Cosmic Conspiracy by Jim Mars? It's another, but these are, I think, I think the next, from a conspiracy perspective, right, conspiratorial perspective, I think the next major event is going to be some kind of extraterrestrial type of contact being made with humans, bro. I think that's what I believe. Based on everything that I know, and I'm not so heavily into it, but I just think that's the next thing, man. But we'll see. I don't want to speak too much. I don't. I'm not one who's super knowledgeable on where I can expound and elaborate and give details on this type of thing. I'm just going off my opinion. I'm just mentioning my opinion. But
yeah, of course. This is all, no, they're called UFOs for a reason. No, we don't know, but the whole concept. I'm trying to pull it up here online, but let me see here. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, but you hear the stories, man. Everything that you've probably done your research. You've done your fair share of, again, research and looking into these types of things and stories. If you've seen documentaries and all our whole lives, we've been fascinated and presented with UFOs and extraterrestrials through movies, through any kind of medium, really, man. And television shows and magazines and books and whatever, right? So it leaves you wondering, yeah, man. And you see the videos on YouTube, you see the videos, all that, right? All that type of stuff, and
there's some weird videos that again, not that I personally never believed that there was anything out there. I know there's deniers, of course, there's deniers for everything.
Yeah,
like I just think the part where government agencies, or I guess other countries, are starting to talk about this much more freely, it does start giving some validation to these so-called conspiracies that we've heard over the last couple of decades. There's Bob Lazar with the guy who did he was like a reverse engineer for a spacecraft back in the 70s or something, that he was a whistleblower. Nobody believed them, and now as we move forward, we start getting more information in terms of what really happened, and now all of a sudden, you start hearing. It kind of pulled up here. It's a former space security chief says extraterrestrials exist, and Trump knows about it.
Okay.
Again, who knows if these communications have happened? I think it's just interesting that if they say that we're not ready as a species to meet this other life, I think it's I'm just curious as to what it is that they think, what it means for us to be ready. Who knows,
I was going to mention, have you heard of the term predictive programming?
No.
Predictive programming basically means, what we see in television, movies and on the internet. For example, when you see a movie, what can we Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Steven Spielberg, I think there was an early 80s movie, all these different movies about aliens, all these different movies about natural disasters, they're basically preparing and programming us as the consumer, as the viewer, to kind of subconsciously plant in our brains that this is going to happen at some point. And that when it does happen, when it comes to fruition, we're already we're already expecting it because we've seen these images before. You know what I mean? So it's predicting. That's why the term predictive programming, right? They're basically preparing us for something,
Yeah.
that we're going to see later, so that's
If it government, there's a possibility that they're already, I mean, it works for a bunch of things, with TV and media in itself, in a way it's a form of, programming what you think and putting you in specific bubbles. But, right here on the conversation, I see people are saying, oh, Mega Man's is like Bob Lazar was working Area 51 and saw aliens talking to Area 51 workers. I don't know about that one, but I know that he was definitely around spacecraft.
I heard Bob Lazar.
Yeah, if aliens invade us, we are fucked. So, yep, we dead. Now, that raises a funny question. Like, if they wanted to destroy the human species, do you not think they would have already come and done it?
Gosh, man, that's a great question, man. That's deep, man. That's deep. I think I want to say no. I mean, geez, because I want to enjoy life, right? I don't want to be wiped out by.
Yeah, I would think they're. I mean, if we're talking about, like, I guess if they're able to fucking space travel, something that we're not able to do yet, then obviously they're much more advanced than we are. So that raises another question: is that if they are that advanced, are they past the ideas of violence or, violence in general? Because at that point they realize that there is more to than just invading and killing. But who fucking man?
No, you don't. Yeah, exactly, man. You would think, I would hope that, geez, man, these, if there's something out there that they're more advanced, that they would be kind to us and not, not imprison us and put us in camps and stuff like that, right? You would hope they would come in peace to assist and help us, grow or whatever, help us in some way, right?
Yeah.
That's deep, man. That's deep, and then it goes back to all these movies that they've made, about this particular thing, where the different portals and like, for example, Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey and going into these wormholes and space travel, man. That's some deep stuff, and time travel. We've seen it throughout history, and all these different things. So, yeah, man, it's a really deep conversation. It's a really deep topic, man. When you really get down to, but yeah, to answer your question, man, I hope, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, I would hope they would be nice to us.
Yeah, see, we're here at Penelope's boutique. We wouldn't treat them that. We wouldn't treat them that way. I'm a little confused about that specific comment, but again, we are known. We're now humans right now in 2020. If somebody looks different than us, we're easy to just say, "Hey, fuck you. You're not me. Like, let's move. Get away from me." It's easy. It's easy for a lot of us to do that. And I'm not saying everyone does it, but we all have our certain things that we're not necessarily okay with. That means that if we were to come face to face with an alien, more than likely our first instinct is danger and, let's shoot that alien in the face.
Fear, right? I think we'd be operating out of fear.
Yeah.
I don't know if have you heard of Jordan Maxwell?
Yes.
Yeah. I used to listen to him a lot, and he would claim he's not into conspiracy theory. He's into conspiracy truth, I think he would say. But he's really interesting, man. He's done like 50 years of research on all these particular topics, and he believes, that we live amongst, the like reptilians. I think Mega Man mentioned. Yeah. Reptilian and type of beings, bro. And he tells a story where he saw a reptile human reptilian type of being. So yeah, it's a really interesting stuff, man. So some people believe we live amongst the aliens and these different types of extraterrestrials. Like you look at the movie Men in Black, with Will Smith. You look at those movies, stuff like that.
Guys,
it's just thought-provoking, makes you think.
Yeah, like those monoliths, the monoliths that started appearing like random places. I highly believe those are like a marketing scheme. Like somebody's just fucking with everybody and just placing it. But the conspiracy part of me, the UFO believer, wants me to believe like, holy shit, like they're planning these, but they're placing them as coordinates for something, and I'm like low-key scared. But again, at the same time, if I had the chance to meet an alien, dude, I'm sure my mind wouldn't be able to comprehend it. I'll be fucking driven insane.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's interesting, man. I don't know how I would react. I don't know, man. That's you know, I've never really contemplated that. You know, I've never really contemplated that. I've never seen, you know, anything myself. You know, UFO or anything like that. How about yourself?
I've seen. Well, I saw a light once, but that could have been anything. I'm also not like gullible. You know, if I see something, my first reaction is to try to find a scientific or grounded reason why that happened. You know, I wouldn't be like, oh fuck, I saw a UFO. You know, so for the most part, I feel like I have a balance between me figuring out, you know, trying to see, okay, is this bullshit? Did this really happen? And you know, you just gotta really be conscious about what you're seeing. It. I mean, sometimes it's unexplainable, but you know, I have somebody here. Lauren says, "I know I saw UFOs seriously." And then Fabian says they're about to shut down AA page for speaking the truth. Let's hope that they're watching right now. We're on their peace list, you know. I
know, right? Exactly, man. That's funny.
But yeah, no, it's weird. I think we're in different, obviously in different times, and I think it was a weird ass year, and to just end it with knowing that there's a potential that aliens have made contact with us before, it was cherry on top of everything, you know. And like,
right,
21's around the corner. The vaccines are going out. Like all this stuff is just kind of coming at everybody real quick. So it's kind of, you know, it's kind of hard to tell where we're gonna be in a few months.
I know, Eddie. I know, man. I just, you know, take it one day at a time and just enjoy life every day, man. I think, you know, I don't take anything lightly anymore. I don't take anything for granted. I do the best I can to just live in the moment, to enjoy life. You know, I have my struggles too, you know, with stuff, you know, with life, and, you know, I'm only human, but I just, yeah, hopefully I just got to be optimistic, you know, to the fullest, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all we can do.
And then, looking at these comments, man, sorry.
Somebody brought up abductions. I believe them. I believe they can happen. You know, there's again, I want to believe, but yeah, I'm a little scared too, man. I wouldn't want to come across some weird shit. And you know, like, I think, let's see, Mega Man saying the three-titted girl from Total Recall, the movie. Okay, he's getting into some weird stuff. Turn off the TV for now. But no, dude, it's just I think it's, you know, crazy that as just when we think that we have things figured out as a species, something happens and we're fucked and we're kind of in square one again. So, you know, the same thing happened with this whole pandemic. None of us were ready. None of us were ready for anything like this. And up to now, it finally feels like we're getting readjusted to what's going on.
Yeah.
Or, you know what, we're going to be taking our masks off, you know, like throwing like graduation caps.
I know. Exactly. Oh man.
Outside of what's been going on, like, where do you think we're heading in terms of these? I don't want to bring the whole vaccine part up because I know they all have their own opinions on it. But what is your personal opinion on how these things are being distributed?
Oh, with the vaccine and stuff? Oh, well, you know, personally, man, I if they tell me, you know, you can't, I'm not taking the vaccine. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
That's where I stand, basically. And, but I know what I am expecting to happen is, you know, there's gonna make laws. They're gonna make these, laws where you can't get a job unless you have a vaccine for COVID. You can't travel unless you have a vaccine for COVID. You can't work. You can't do all. There's gonna be these sanctions or laws put into place. You know, it's gonna cause a lot of controversy. I don't know, man. So it's just.
Oh, it gets weird. I mean, it just brings up a lot of questions, you know, and I think, at least for me, the most important question is find out what you're really putting into your body. You know, that's my most important one. If you want to do it, if you don't want to do it, So as long as you're informed of what is going in your body, I think then you can make a better decision. But again, like you said, they are more than likely going to try to do something that's mandatory for people to kind of rejoin society. If you want to be part of us again, you're going to have to get the shot.
Right. I was going to say, how in school when young children, or, just to get vaccinated with what we have now, the certain types of vaccines that we have now that we take or that we give our children, certain, whatever those are, tetanus or whatever. And then there's people that oppose those vaccines now, that they don't vaccinate their children up to a certain age or whatever. So I think you're going to have two sides again, this dichotomy, of vaccination versus, you're not going to vaccinate me,
Yeah.
So you're going to have these arguments, bro. So, right.
The taboo part comes where like, oh, well, you don't give a fuck about anybody else. You're just thinking about yourself. And I don't know, man. This is where you don't want to have those conversations, because the moment you say something bad or wrong, you're labeled something, and the conversation never fully develops with whatever way you're kind of looking into things.
Yeah, that's a great, you hit it right on the head, man. Because you don't want to, it's a kind of a double-edged sword, man. It's catch-22. Because people might say, "Oh, well, you're being selfish," but at the same time, it's like, hey, man, to each, it's like a thing. Yeah, it's to each his own. I think, but yeah, it's again, if you want to be, if you want to join society, and you have to be considerate of others at the same time. It's a very interesting argument, man. Interesting debate. Because there's two sides to that, right? There's two sides. It's like, it's my body, I can do whatever I want. So it's a controversial. It's going to be a controversial thing, man. I think.
Yeah. Regardless where you look at it, I just hope at some point, like I've said this in plenty of other podcasts, I feel like as a society, we're still developing. Of course, we're still kind of figuring out things between ourselves and within ourselves and with our external selves, and trying to figure out really what is the best way to kind of approach the way we live as a collective. And I think until we have the ability to have a conversation without feeling heated from one end to another, we're not going to make any progress. But I'm hopeful that progress is coming as we come to terms with how one-sided things can be.
No doubt, man. I'm hopeful too. Optimistic, man. Again, we got to stay positive, man. Or we're gonna freaking kill ourselves, man, thinking about worrying about stuff. I guess we'll cross that bridge, when we get there. And in the meantime, we're like one day at a time,
I see I have somebody say, Lauren says, very hard to break generations of habits and misconception. And yeah, it's true. It's going to take a couple of generations, and again, at the end of the day, just because the change isn't happening right now as we're talking about it, doesn't mean that, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that change doesn't happen exactly right now. It's not instant. It's going to be a gradual change. And before we know it, our kids or our kids' kids, that's where these ideas are hopefully going to be ingrained within them to be able to, make those positive changes. Yeah,
no doubt, man. No doubt. I think, we have to educate our kids and make sure they're going to be making, like you said, man, the right choices, because man, they could be so easily influenced, and as a parent, I want to be the main influence of my kids, and teach them things that are, to put them, up on game, as they say, or just to educate them, man, enlighten them, to always seek the truth, always seek the truth, man. So
yeah, I like that word, enlightenment, because that's what you want. All you can really provide to them is just the tools for them to be able to, approach that enlightenment and make those conscious decisions on their own. Because we can only do so much. I'm a parent, but as a son, if it's me speaking from a son, perspective, you definitely see how things could have been approached differently if your parents were more informed about specific things.
Exactly. And there's the other word, man, informed. Yeah. I like what Fidel said from Talking Again, man. A quote from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, man.
Talking again podcast.
Talking again, yeah. He said the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he did not exist. Is that from Wonka? I don't recall. Willy Wonka.
But that is, it sounds like something Willy Wonka and the Oompa Loompas would say. But no, it's true. Again, it's about this deception, deceiving, and if you don't know, especially as kids, if you are not taught how to interpret body language, how to interpret people's motives, or kind of try to read in between what is being told to you, unfortunately, for a while, until you come to that realization on your own, you're gonna be gullible, and what you read is what goes, and that's how we continue to manifest these energies that are not necessarily best for us.
Yeah, no, you have to do your own research, man. You got to do your own research. I don't watch the news, man. I haven't watched the news in, gosh, who knows, man, 20 years, 25 years. I do my own, I gather my own information. I do my own research and do the best I can to draw my own conclusions.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you make a good point, man. Like if our parents have been more informed, they could have maybe enlightened us, right, or educated us a different way, but it seems like our generation, we've had to take it upon ourselves and take the initiative to seek out information,
Yeah, man, that's all we can, honestly, that's all we can really do. And again, we kind of bringing back the whole vaccine part. It's like, just do your research, if at the end of the day you decide that you still want to get the shot, now, go for it, by all means go. But if you become a fucking zombie, double tap, you're getting double tapped.
Yeah, exactly, man. If you start turning green or some shit, then
I think again,
thumbs up.
If I decide that I will take it at some point, I'll wait a year. I'll wait 6 months. I mentioned this again on another podcast. If that is the choice that has to be made, it's like when you first buy a fucking brand new, I know it's not the same thing. People are going to be like, it's not the same thing. But when you first buy an iPhone, or a piece of software, there's going to be glitches. There's going to be bugs. There's going to be, things that need to be fixed with patches, as time comes, as you see how the overall population is taking care of the software, So the same thing with vaccines. If you're starting with a small group, there's going to be those first couple of people that are going to have some sort of side effects, like some pretty intense side effects, unfortunately. And
shit, man.
It kinks out, then you're going to start seeing a progression in terms of how it affects the overall population. But again, that's just a way of approaching these thoughts. At the end, it's up to you to decide whatever you want to do. I personally am not going to take it, at least for a good while.
Yeah.
I hope that whoever decides to do it, again, just make sure you're researching your information.
Right. But, I think there's certain individuals that will, for example, first responders, doctors, nurses, firefighters, police officers, those type of people, paramedics, first respond personnel, I think they're going to have to take it. If I'm not mistaken, my next door neighbor is a firefighter, and he was telling me that they're going to be required to take that vaccine, as a first responder. So,
I mean, for them being the first in line to, being an exposure, then you can see why they would need to do it,
Correct.
But again, if you have the choice, probably,
yeah. And who knows? Are there going to be people within those, circles, those groups, those industries that are going to oppose it, or that might mean, hey, you can't work here, you can't be a firefighter.
Yeah.
You can't work as a police officer. I'm sorry, so who knows, man? We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it's probably going to get a little tighter as we move into like this whole, it's a whole new presidency. We not that saying Biden is the same as Trump or it's worse and all this shit, not at all. All I'm saying, there's a new administration coming in. So the way that things are being approached are going to be different. Whereas Trump was kind of like, oh, I didn't know what was going on, blah, 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 like all this bullshit. Biden is going to be a little bit more like, okay, well, we need a national or a federal stay-at-home order instead of just states on themselves. But yeah, dude, it's
no doubt, ready.
Weird. I think a lot more about how the government helps its people in times of trial than I ever read in a history book, because you start seeing how disproportionate things are in between all of that, and you start seeing the cracks in the system.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no doubt, man. We've seen, there's a lot of things that have been exposed, man, that, this whole year, right? But you're bringing up a lot of thought-provoking stuff, man. It's like, wow, man, what all these different scenarios that can occur, that are realistic, it's just like, I think only time is going to tell with a lot of this stuff, how it plays out, man. And, I just pray for the best, man. I just hope for the best, again, going back to just one day at a time, being optimistic, taking care of my family, taking care of your family. That's it, man.
Yeah.
That's all. And just being informed, man, being informed.
Yeah. It's just expending that energy, that good energy, and it's
right.
It's going to be hard to come by, we all have our days where we're just not having it. And it's understandable, but again, we shouldn't allow ourselves to be held back by a state of mind, and we can overcome it, and we could change that if we really put the effort into really making those changes.
Oh yeah, taking action, man, taking action for sure.
Yeah, see, so like I see a bunch of people saying like the government wants to slave us once they put that vaccine in us. Just watch, Biden is a puppet. Like there's just all these comments that I think they're interesting because like I was hearing the radio the other day and they were having this conversation about how they're going to spend millions of dollars over the next couple of months trying to push this new campaign for vaccinations. Government agencies, public safety agencies, they're going to start promoting all this kind of stuff. And if you haven't heard, like supposedly Obama, Bill Clinton, or Hillary, they're going to be taking the vaccine on live TV. So just to try to help convince the public that it's safe. And one of the topics that they brought up was that there's a really high, I think there's like a 43% or 53% of the population is totally against not taking the vaccine. And a lot of them are minorities, people of color. And they're trying to, or I guess in that segment, they were trying to figure out why. Like, why is it that these groups in these populations don't want to take why is there so much anti-trust?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, have you not, like anybody who opens a book, you can see that over decades, over the last 100 years, centuries, they've experimented on people one way or another, whether they're doing it low-key, whether they're doing it out in the public. Like, that's why people have become wary, because we know what has been done. It's not just like, oh, they're just antitrust. Like, why they don't trust the vaccine? Why not? It's like there's reasons for that,
But I didn't hear about that. What you said is regarding like Obama. They're gonna take the vaccine live and all this stuff.
They're gonna be on live TV and they're gonna be injected while I guess everybody's watching. For the same reason, they're trying to sell it as like this is we're taking it. It's safe for you to take it. And
yeah, that's just what a shit show, man.
It's just weird. We're in a weird place where you have to, in order to convince people, you have to go on live TV and inject yourself. Otherwise, it's not. That's
yeah. But you know what, Eddie? I think, man, the majority of the population, man, when you look at, or let's just take the United States for example. I think, people become they're docile. They're docile. They believe everything they see on TV. They believe everything our politicians say or tell us, what our government tells us. At the end of the day, they're just going to do what the government says. I think the majority of the population falls under that, that category, and only there's a smaller percentage of the population don't and think otherwise, think for themselves. And I don't know, man. I just feel, but yeah, I think that population that Obama's taking the vaccination on live TV. Oh, it must be safe, right? Oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna do okay. Now I feel better. And we don't know if he's taking the vaccine or not. It could be a fake syringe or something. For all we know,
it could be just a placebo or something. Yeah, I mean, you don't know. And unless you're there analyzing the fucking chemicals in that vaccine, you're not gonna know what it is that they're taking. So
exactly.
It does get weird. And like you mentioned, like the very fact that they're using these people with with this influence, because unfortunately I voted for Obama. I have no, I'm not going to talk shit about him, but the fact that they're using these public people as influences to provide something like this, it's being directed at those people who believe these specific figures are like, they're holding them up on a pedestal per se. They're like, oh shit, Obama, oh, Hillary Clinton, I love these people, I'm gonna do the best too, and boom, you got them. And again, it's not whether I believe you should take it or not. If that's your decision, by all means, go for it. But again, like, are you thinking for yourself, or are you being, or somebody else thinking for you?
Exactly. I was watching something today, man. Someone posted a podcaster. He posted a video, and he was saying that it's human nature to be controlled. To make someone else influence you, to allow someone to influence you, to make this in making decisions. Human nature wants to be. I don't know if you said dominated, but we want to be led. We don't want to take the initiative and be leaders and make our own decisions based on our own volition. We're easily influenced. So I think that man, it goes back to that. Obama would never hurt me, or these politicians would never hurt me. Do anything to hurt me. We want to believe that they won't, and I think human nature wants to, that's it goes back to what when you look at people, entrepreneurs, man. Why isn't everybody an entrepreneur, right? Because people don't feel like they can. They don't believe in themselves to a point where they can feel independently become wealthy. They have to rely on a certain corporation or a certain system in place to make a living. That's what it comes down to, I think, and that with that particular thing, when it comes for just as a practical example, I'm just gonna get a job here, and there's nothing wrong with it. Don't take me wrong. There's nothing wrong with getting a job at any corporation. They're making a living. Those people make livings. They feed their kids that way. Families are fed. That's great. But the point being is that our human nature, we don't want to let go and create our own path. We want to kind of we want to feel safe.
I heard that quote that you said earlier. Like, there's something I read, that something about humans needing, like, the subconscious need to be led, because it's it takes a lot more effort to be the leader than it is to be the follower, and for the same reason, like, it's easy for you, again, nothing wrong with having a regular day job, but the very fact that you are being led to join this rat race because it's easier for you to just join this thing and just become part of the machine rather than to start your own machine, as an example. And again, it takes energy, and we don't want to waste energy. Like, we'd rather spend energy on things that we think are what we need right now, not what we want, and not what we need. And, it comes down with energy thing. Like, how much energy are we willing to spend on researching? How much energy are you willing to do your, get knowledge or find out more about specific topics? Like, do you want somebody to feed you that information? Like, we get it on social media, from headlines, from fucking post, or are we gonna waste that extra energy to go out there and search the information for ourselves?
Exactly, you're hitting it right on the head, Eddie. Everything, man. I agree with you 100%. It takes energy, man. Energy, effort, research, work to be self-employed, right? To make your own path, to be a leader. Bottom line, like you said, when you're not a leader, you're being fed, you're being spoon fed, right? And that takes less effort, man. When you think about a baby or a human, or when you're fed, you don't have to do anything. You just sit there. Literally, you just sit there, open your mouth,
and somebody does it for you.
Right. Exactly. That's a prime example, man. But now when Now the flip side to that is, okay, now I got to go. If you know, if I want to cook my own meal and prepare, and you got to cook, and that takes a lot more work, right? If I'm going to create my own, cook my own dish, right, and feed myself with, I got to lift the spoon to my mouth, and cook the meal, prep it, and all the ingredients, and blah blah blah. That takes more effort, right? So
of course. Yeah, and and unfortunately that feels like that's where we're moving as a society, which I think at some point once technology was introduced to, oh shit, I think my live just went off. Yeah,
really?
But we're close to that time because my laptop's at 5% here. So everybody, but
no, but yeah, no, I think we're just, leading and following how, being spoon-fed and information, and being spoon-fed and it just takes less energy, man, as opposed to when you're trying to create your own path and be a leader. It takes a lot more effort, a lot more work. Most people aren't willing to do that. Most people are just willing to again, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just human nature, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you can have a job and you can continue doing your thing on the outside, and again, it's figuring out how you're going to spend that energy after your job that's going to ultimately define how much or what progress you make in your outside stuff, because that's all the time. You're going to be at work full time. Make 10 hours, or 5 hours after work, even if you stay up late, focus on your craft, and
yeah. And again, and the other thing is, it's all about what a person wants to do, with their life. If a person always wanted to become for example, a registered nurse or a high school principal, by all means, man, that go after your dream.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. But again, I think when it's just when we're speaking in general terms, I think most people are willing to just sit back and not really don't want to not take that entrepreneurial route.
Yeah,
but again, it goes back to whatever that person wishes to become. What are their dreams? What are their goals?
Damn, dude, it's interesting. I think we're gonna see a bunch of changes as we move forward. I think we're in a bunch of different things. I think our priorities have been shifted, and they're gonna continue to shift as we continue figuring out what happens in the next coming months and the years following. What the long-term effect of this 2020 was. But
awesome.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I apologize for lagging it last week. I wasn't feeling good, so I was like, I kind of wanted to have my head straight and everything so we can have this conversation.
Oh yeah, no, anytime, Eddie. Let's get you on mine, man. I thank you for having me. It's an honor being here on Social Primates. I saw your podcast back, several months ago, man, thinking, oh, that's interesting, Social Primates. And here we are, man, on your platform, and it's an awesome conversation, man. I haven't thought of all these different topics in a while now. So thank you, man. And it's been a pleasure being here, man.
Of course, man. No worries. And if people want to find your show, what is the best place for them to check you out?
Oh, definitely, man. You can find me at ProfilePodTV on Instagram at ProfilePodTV_. Or they can, on YouTube, ProfilePodTV, just search ProfilePodTV, subscribe, hit that little red button, support the podcast, man.
Well, again, dude, thank you so much. And then, I'll see you soon.
All right, brother. No, thank you. You guys take care, man.
Take care, dude.
See you too. Peace.
Leave me when it's over, can't catch me when I'm sober. Living in a fast lane, the world is on my shoulders, yeah. Leave me when it's over, can't catch me when I'm sober. Living in a fast lane, the world is on my shoulders, yeah. Love it. promise you my time. Trust me when I tell you this a fight. Can't you see I'm doing this for us? 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 When it's over, can't catch me when I'm sober. Living in a fast lane, the world is on my shoulders, yeah. Leave me when it's over, can't catch me when I'm sober. Living in a fast lane, the world is on my shoulders, yeah. Leave me when it's over, can't catch me when I'm sober. Living in a fast lane, the world is on my shoulders, yeah. Leave me when it's over, can't catch me when I'm sober. Living in a fast lane, the world is on my shoulders, yeah.